G'day guys, we're back doing another guide on Depths of Corruption. It's quite a challenging dungeon if you're trying to pug it, and hopefully this video will do the best job of explaining each boss, tips and tricks, how to get it done if you have zero communication. I mean, nowadays a lot of people are well geared, but this should help you understand a little bit more about the dungeon. Enjoy. Welcome to the dungeon. It's pretty daunting for your first time around, but we'll go through it real slow, break it down, and make sure that everything is understood properly, missing hopefully not much information. First time you enter, you're greeted by a couple of ads that want to hunt you down. You kill the ads and you drop down the cliff, making sure you don't aggro anything on the way down. Alright, so first boss is quite straightforward, funny enough. There's really not much to this guy, apart from a couple of things. First thing, he's got a big sword. A really big sword. He'll do some cleaves, nothing to really worry about. Even if you're in melee range, it doesn't hurt a great deal. But what does hurt is his line cleave. So basically, he can turn pretty much like the Archon of Fire boss, 180 degrees at a moment's notice. That can basically just smack you down. 50-80% damage. If he's enraged, it's a one shot, and we'll talk about that in a second. That is basically the line attack that you're seeing now. What he's doing is he's just cleaving you guys, running around, making sure your lives are a living hell. At certain periods of the fight, I should be saying, that he'll go to a crystal and you can drag him to the crystal, or he'll go. Basically what happens is, as soon as he's trying to draw power from that crystal, you want to make sure you're DPSing the crystal, ensuring that he doesn't obtain the buff. Now the buff can be attack damage, defense, AoE cleave, basically a nightmare. There's also reflect that you've got to worry about. So the biggest thing for this is making sure that he doesn't get the defense buff and the attack buffs. If he gets the AoE buff, if he gets the reflect buff, it's not a big deal. You just got to be a little bit more careful when you're fighting the boss and that half of the fight. It's basically 75% and onwards kind of thing. So basically, once he goes to the crystals, you want to burst that crystal down. You want to make sure you're not getting cleaved by anything, avoiding damage the best that you can. This fight is very, very straightforward. I'll show you the rest of the fight here at 50%, but this is basically it. Avoid the cleaves, avoid his kind of sword smack, if you will. It does help if you kind of keep on your feet and do a couple of roll dodges here and there. I find that I end up roll dodging into cleaves, so I kind of tend to avoid that where I can. He will also do lightning on the ground. They're basically puddles. They're like Rosier, with the pink balls that we keep talking about, that we love to talk about. Again, just avoid, find your gap. They don't really do a lot of damage, so it's not really lethal. So even if you do eat it, it's not the biggest deal. So don't freak out and try and avoid and roll into other things when it might just get you into trouble. So here's the rest of the fight. That's pretty much it for the first boss. Enjoy. Now, cheeky, you can actually avoid all these ads in this room if you hug left, exiting the first boss, and climb the wall to your left. You can avoid everything. You don't need to aggro anything. I see too many people, too many streamers, too many YouTubers just pulling those ads. Avoid them. Why not? Takes you 2 seconds to jump up that mountain and save you time. Makes sense to me. Alright, so Twisted is quite an easy fight. It reminds me of a boss that's just tank and spank. There are a couple of mechanics to worry about, and that is it. First one. She'll mark someone with a pink mark. Basically, what you want to do if you have the pink mark is run outside of the light. So, if you get marked with a pink, take the boss outside of the light and drop the thorns. Yes, okay, you won't have the debuff to do more damage on the boss. Fine. No dramas. But this will save the boss of spawning thorns directly in the sunlight, is where you actually want to fight this boss. So you want to fight this boss in the sunlight because radiance helps you do more, right? So boss needs to be in the sunlight. If you get marked, take boss out. This is the prime example of what not to do. This group, okay, fair enough. We are just burning, alright? Everyone's very geared, all the rest of it. Now you can do this as well, but for the purpose of this video and the purpose of the tutorial is to teach people what to do. So if you get marked, skim outside the light, maybe even a few meters back, and then once it's over, get back into the light. There's no thorns, there's no damage that you take, no dramas at all. The other thing you got to keep in mind is that the boss will spawn a flower, and the flower will just shoot poison. Now, pretty self-explanatory. Once the ad is up, it's only one ad. Switch to ad, burn ad, go back on boss. The boss will do occasional cleaves with thorns. That's to be expected. Just avoid, do your best you can to avoid. The damage isn't a lot. If you sit in the thorns and run through the thorns, okay, fair enough, it takes damage, but for the most part, this boss is just a prime example of tank and spank. One ad to burn. The ad doesn't have a lot of HP. It will shoot, like, you know, poison at the group. Again, not the biggest deal in the world. And then just switch back to boss. Kill boss, progress to final form. Alright, so basically this boss is a little bit dicky, and it's by far one of the hardest in the game. It's not hard because he hits a lot, It's just that there's so many mechanics to worry about. So let's get into it. So basically, the boss will do laser beams. Laser beams will target a direction in the arena, will basically give everyone a button smash to do. That's the laser beam right there. It is basically a one-shot kill. Do your best to avoid. If the boss is facing that direction, you probably don't want to be facing it, as if you can, avoid it, avoid it. It's a button smash, hit the button, off you go. The other things to worry about in this boss is the enclosure. The enclosure is basically rocks that will form sometimes around the player, sometimes around no players. It is kind of a little bit RNG. You want to kind of spread out. Some people say spread out, some people stay in, but for the way to keep this nice and easy and simple, let's say to stay clumped. So if everyone stays clumped and the boss spawns the rock pillars, basically what you want to do to escape the rocks is you want to group up at one location at the rocks. The boss will drop meteors on you. I guess that's the best way to explain this. And it will create a gap in the rocks. This has to happen 2 or 3 times, so it is a little bit dicky. So you just gotta make sure that you guys are on top of that. Stay together. Don't run around going, oh my god, what do we need to do? Stay tight. Drop those AoEs against the rocks, and off you go. The boss will also do meteor shower that you've probably just seen there. And basically what that is it's just a phase that things will keep dropping from the sky. You just don't worry about DPS, just avoid, move around each kind of AoE, make sure you don't take significant damage, and off you go. Now, at the moment, we're all trapped in this rock enclosure, and we're doing damage. You don't have to wait for the AoEs that the boss is doing. You can pretty much just AoE yourselves, and wait for the boss's AoE. The thing is, as soon as you break out of the enclosure, you want to make sure you have a quick glance at the boss, make sure which way the laser's coming. Not always is it clockwise. Sometimes it's anti-clockwise. You gotta be prepared. So you don't fang out of the gap and go, oh my god, everyone, let's go right, when the laser beam could be going anti-clockwise, which obviously will lead to everyone dying. It is a significant hit, so you got to be careful and you got to be mindful. The other things to watch out for is when she does the gold balls. So basically, again, we're going to experience gold balls in this fight. Pretty much like we did in the last Rosier fight. Gold balls are grabbed, mitigating damage. You can also use the gold balls to destroy basically mines that come up on the field. So there'll be red mines that glow. They're kind of like little balls that just sit out in the open. So basically there'll be gold balls that you can grab, and once you grab these gold balls, you can run into the pink. So basically getting rid of all these mines that are spawning around the arena. You definitely don't want to be overrun, and you can become overrun. So it's important that you explode them. Now, sometimes you can have, depending on DPS, you can ignore. Sometimes you might have 1 or 2 people that go, yep, I'm on mine duty and whatnot, and off you go. You can start like just smashing yourself into these pink bright balls. Now you see them like still on the screen. They basically look like little pink balls with a kind of ominous smoke coming around it. Rosier will also do the mines explosion, the pink mines explosion that we've seen from previous dungeons. This is just another example of take a second, keep your camera angle facing downwards like I tend to do. Gives you a better perspective of view about where you can stand and where you can't stand. So that's something to also keep in mind. So that's pretty much the fight in a nutshell. There is a lot going on. You do have to worry about these enclosures happening. You have to worry about getting the gold balls and killing the mines off. You have to worry about the laser beams, which is a button smash. You have to worry about the meteors that happen throughout the fight. But again, just take your time. There's no need to, DPS during this. Make sure you survive. The pink balls, again, camera angle facing, up downwards position, so you can actually see what's going on. And that's basically it. Again, once leaving the enclosure, make sure you have a quick glance at boss, say, okay, shit, at least I know I'm going left or I know I'm going right. If you don't have the communications, sometimes that's all it takes is a make and break to save your team from entire wipe. So if you do the right thing, at least you'll have half a chance. So enjoy the rest of this fight, guys, and I hope you like this quick guide on all the bosses, you know, that little tip and trick in the middle running up the mountain. Any questions at all, anything I might have missed out, feel free to leave a comment below. Always happy to amend and chat further. Guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Alright guys, that's pretty much everything. If you like this video, please remember to like, follow, subscribe, leave comments. Always happy to read things. Always happy for people to say, hey, look, I think you got something wrong, or you can do something else in a better way. By all means, feedback is always welcome. I can't stress this enough. It's always good to share as much information to the community as possible so people understand more. Even I learn new things every day. So feel free. No one's going to bite your heads off. Again, feel free to jump on Twitch. We stream fairly often. Not so much now that I've got a newborn, but we tend to get, well, we tend to get on there as much as possible. So hopefully we'll see you all very soon. Hope you enjoyed the vid.